Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Roomie Wars, Friends to Lovers Complete Series by Kat T. Masen. Narrated by Stefanie K. and John William Maddux. Roomie Wars. Prologue. I'm sorry, you're into what? I glanced down at the rental application form, trying my best to make sense of what this guy just told me. Male, 24, employed as a DJ at a popular nightclub in a seedy part of town. I'm into amateur sex, filming hardcore amateur sex scenes. Will bringing girls here be a problem? He questions, walking around the room, observing the prints on the wall as if this topic of conversation is no big deal. I want to laugh. I should laugh. Is this guy for real? Kenny, is it? I ask politely without trying to ridicule him. He cocks his head to the side and nods, flashing his gold tooth like he's just stepped out of a bad hip-hop video. Women like to call me Ken. I feed into my curiosity, which is usually a bad thing. Why do women like to call you Ken? Shuffling closer, invading what I like to call my personal space, he responds in his most seductive voice. Because if I'm Ken, you can be Barbie, and yours can be the box I come in. My throat closes, causing me to choke. This has to be the cheesiest line I've ever heard in my life. There's no way any woman would fall for this. Not unless they're drunk and desperately looking for a rebound. Even then, it's a far shot. He rests his hand on his belt, lifting his baggy jeans that have fallen during his attempt to seduce me. His knockoff Calvin Kleins are purposely exposed, and I swear, with the thick gold chain draped around his neck, we've stepped back into the 90s when this was considered fashionable. The logo on his shirt says FBI, with small writing below it that reads Female Body Inspector. Everything about this guy screams loser, and not the roommate I'm hoping to find today. Next. I send him on his merry way, but not before he propositions me again by leaving his business card on my coffee table. Wishful thinking, dude. Outside my doorway, another 2 applicants are waiting in the hall. After interviewing 10 people today, I'm praying that my next roommate is one of the guys left in the hallway. I placed the advertisement only a week ago. My last roommate, Cherise, did a runner, leaving me with a pile of dishes and 2 weeks of unpaid rent. Apparently, her boyfriend popped the question, so she automatically took that as, let's move in together. Since then, I've been gun-shy about the whole finding a roommate thing. I have this theory. Females were more likely to move in with a guy based on a spontaneous moment. Men, they stand their ground for as long as they can. I figured it couldn't be too hard to live with a guy. I have years of experience with 2 older brothers. So they stink, and occasionally, if not always, leave a trail of mess behind them. The toilet seat is left up, and count yourself lucky if you live with a male who knows how to aim. I'll take that over girly drama any day. I open the door and call the next person in, my eyes glued to the clipboard that rests in my hands. Then in walks Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes, or Liam as his application form says, is an absolute drop-dead stunner. His occupation reads model. Well, duh. Liam extends his hand, and I shake it, noticing how soft and large his hands are. With my jaw permanently stuck to the ground, I attempt to compose myself and start the interview. I clear my throat, trying to calm the nervous energy that so quickly has escalated between my legs. So, Liam, tell me a little bit about yourself. Sure. He smiles warmly, and I can't help but be drawn to his full lips. They look so delicious and... Focus! I cross my legs, ignoring my raging libido. I've got 3 sisters, all younger. I enjoy playing sports, my favorite sport being football. Oh, sweet Jesus. The temperature in the room is stifling hot, and I scan the coffee table for the air conditioner remote. It's nowhere in sight, so I'm forced to sit here in front of this beautiful man and pretend he does not affect whatsoever, all the while praying my deodorant lives up to its slogan, protecting me from any sticky situation with round-the-clock, fresh-smelling armpits. His pose distracts me. Long, athletic legs with the perfect amount of muscle covered in loose shorts. If I tilted my head to the right, quite possibly I could sneak a peek at the crown jewels. He continues to speak, interrupting my plan. I'm an aspiring model, but during the week I volunteer at an orphanage across town. I'm swooning. I never have, ever, in my life, swooned over a guy. I'm certain that an angel dropped this perfect man into my apartment with his piercing blue eyes, dashing smile, and gorgeous ripped body just to test me. He looks and sounds smart and is everything a woman would want to wake up to each morning for the rest of her life. But I'm roommate hunting, not on some game show looking for love. My heart, mind, and body are torn into a great dividing wall. I spent the last year saving every penny so I could afford to finish my degree in architecture. Distractions will deter me from reaching my goal. I'll be on edge all the time trying to impress him or something. God forbid if I wear my ratty t-shirt with the holes all over my back, or leave my granny undies hanging in the bathroom. I know myself too well. I have to let him go. But he's so pretty, it hurts. Move on. Next. I continue to make small talk, then tell him I'll call him with an answer. Being the perfect gentleman, he extends his hand once again, and a little too eagerly I grab it and don't let go. The shake seems to go on forever until I reluctantly pull away. Liam walks out the door, allowing me a few minutes to pull myself together. Why am I letting this guy go again? Shake it off, Zoey. Eyes on the prize, not on his pants. I call the next person to come in. The door creaks open, and a young guy pops his head around the corner. I'm surprised by how young he looks. Maybe 20-ish? But it could be the SpongeBob t-shirt and old Chucks he's wearing. He's slightly on the chubby side, appearing self-conscious while he fans his body by airing the bottom of his shirt. He appears pretty ordinary, with his dark hair and brown eyes hiding behind thick black glasses. Placing his hand in his pocket, he pulls out his inhaler and takes a puff, while I wait for him to get himself together. Just admit it. He screams, geek. Perfect. I motion for him to take a seat, and he sits on the brown leather armchair looking around the room uncomfortably, struggling to make eye contact. So, Andrew, I start reading the details on his form. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay. He stutters nervously. I'm 24, currently studying medicine. I work at a video store down at the mall while I finish my degree. There's something unique about his accent. Not quite American, a hint of British or Australian, if I'm not mistaken. I want to ask him, but he seems to be nervous and intimidated by this process. It isn't like a job interview. It's odd that a grown man would be nervous around me. Studying to be a doctor? Impressive, I tell him. And your surname is Baldwin. Are you related to Alec, Stephen, Daniel, and... what's the other one that starred in that movie as a stalker? He appears to relax a little, then releases a soft chuckle. Can't say we're related, but I think you're referring to Billy. Of course he knows that. Sharon Stone is the epitome of a sex goddess and every jerk-off fantasy. If you're a guy and haven't seen Sliver, you might as well be gay. Well, Andrew, your application looks good, and so far, you're the best applicant. Just get this over and done with. Get Liam and his perfect everything out of your head. You didn't work your ass off so you could throw it away because of some guy who would make such beautiful babies. Andrew ticks all the boxes. He looks intelligent in a geeky kind of way, not a womanizer who will attract ladies to the apartment. And most of all, I'm not attracted to him one bit. I give him my best welcoming smile. When can you move in? Adjusting his glasses above the bridge of his nose, he manages a small smile, extending his hand as we shake on our new agreement. It will be the first time I've lived with a man besides my dad and brothers, and the first time Andrew's ever lived with a woman. After much deliberation, we agree we need to establish rules. And so, Zoey Richards and Andrew Baldwin vow never to break the 5 cardinal rules of the roommate agreement. Rule number 1. Neither of us has maid listed on our resume. It's every man/woman to clean up after themselves. Rule number 2. The toilet seat should always be left down. Rule number 3. No partners or lovers are to stay more than one night in a row. Otherwise, rent is payable. Rule number 4. All disputes are to be settled old school. Rock, paper, scissors. Rule number 5. Nudity is not acceptable. In the event of any mishaps, it must never, ever be spoken of again. Just 5 simple rules we need to stick to. And yes, I added the last one since I have a bad habit of getting drunk and sleeping naked on the couch. A week later, Andrew Baldwin moves in, and I officially have a roomie. 1. Zoey. Oh, crap. I look down at my tattered Rainbow Bright shirt. The guacamole sits right in the middle of my collarbone, producing a nice stain next to the ketchup spill from last week. Pulling my shirt toward my mouth, I run my tongue along the edge and carefully try to clean myself up. Yeah, I'm a slob. A slob that is lying across the couch on a Friday night watching reruns of Friends. The episode airing is hilarious and one of my all-time classic favorites. It's when the girls lose the apartment for getting Chandler's ever so elusive job title. I'm in stitches, accidentally spitting a corn chip that goes flying across the room. I should probably go pick it up, but continue to lie here ignoring the mess surrounding me. It's the best way to unwind after a horrendous week in the office. It's surprising that I made it through the week without strangling my boss. Another reminder that my job sucks, and I'm the moron putting up with his shit. Cue the violins. I only have myself to blame, and sitting beside a bag of jumbo corn chips I found at Costco is living proof. Sadly, the jumbo bag of corn chips is the highlight of my week. I jumped with excitement when I came across them stacked up on the shelf. I also resorted to taking a selfie with the chips and went on to post it online, hashtagging the pic like an attention-craving social media whore. Pathetic in all forms. And that says everything about how uneventful my life has become. Since Friday night is supposed to be the time to let loose and party, I thought, why not skip dinner and head straight to the corn chips and guacamole? And it's not a party without some beers. I'm even wearing my fluorescent pink hoop earrings with my hair crimped just for fun. Party of one, just little old me. Throughout the ads, I begin to channel surf when I hear the rattle of the door followed by the sound of keys. The door opens wide, and my roommate, Drew, walks in carrying a grocery bag. With his spare hand, he shuts the door behind him and throws the keys onto the small side table near the entrance. I'm not surprised Drew is still dressed in his scrubs, since he practically lives at the hospital. On top, he wears a gray hoodie with matching gray Nikes. My eyes move back to his grocery bag, praying he picked up some shampoos since I used the last of his bottle this morning. All I see is carrots and a bunch of green stuff. Ugh. You know, that shirt doesn't have much life left in it. Another spill and I think it's time to part ways. Drew happily points out while blocking my view of the television. Oh, hello, Roomie. Nice to see you. How was your day, Zoey? Fine, thanks, Drew. I comment. Hi, Zoe. How was your day? He humors me. I don't even give him a chance to sit down and start ranting about my shitty day at work, which began when my asshole boss walked into the office with a chip on his shoulder. I refer to that chip on his shoulder as his stay-at-home wife, who I believe is having an affair with the electrician. There's only so many bulbs that need replacing. So then he says to me, "I sent you that email yesterday, Zoey, to be acted on today." And I'm like, it was to order paper for the photocopier. The receptionist does that. I'm supposed to be your right hand learning about architecture and studying blueprints and not fetching paper. I let out a huff, barely catching my breath. Anyway, how was your day? A woman died on the table today. Complications with a breast augmentation done by some backyard surgeon. His face remains placid, and I struggle to comprehend how someone can watch that happen and then carry on as if it's an ordinary day. Plus, I'm a douchebag for rambling on about my problems. I twist my body and sit up straight. I'm sorry. God, I sound like an idiot with my first world problems. I like your first world problems. But seriously, Zoe, get rid of the shirt. And what's with the pink earrings? He grimaces. Drew likes to joke around, but this is taking it too far. Shirt jokes are not well received. This isn't the first time we've had this conversation, and it won't be the last. Do you know how long I've had this shirt? And if I get rid of this shirt, you get rid of your SpongeBob shirt. You owned it before you had a pair of tits. Your auntie gave it to you on your 13th birthday. You almost lost the shirt in your move back in 2000, and you cried for a week until you found it buried in a box labeled fragile. He says all in one breath. And the answer is no. SpongeBob stays. Okay, Mr. Know-it-all, I sneer. My point is, it's still in great condition, and this stain would easily come out. Truth be told, this shirt has only a few weeks left. A couple of months, tops. The last time I ran it through the wash, Rainbow Bright lost her dress, leaving only the outline of her head. The holes keep getting bigger, and the ketchup stain is a reminder the fabric is so fragile that even the best of stain removers won't work. This shirt is my comfort zone, and I have a terrible habit of holding on to things from the past. Like my ex, Jess. Don't think about that dirtbag now. There's holes all over the back. And Zoe, I think your nipples are showing. I look down in horror. Bullshit. In fear of losing my shirt at this very moment, I stretch my arms and remove it, standing in the living room only wearing my white-laced bra. Happy? I'll soak it now. His eyes wander to my breasts, and he does that thing with his lips where he bites the corner. Boy, does it annoy the shit out of me. The same bite that supposedly got women into his bed at the drop of a hat. Hey, just looking out for your shirt. I mumble something about him being a dick on the way to the bathroom. Placing my shirt in the sink, I run the hot water and let it soak with some stain remover, praying for a miracle before heading to my room and opening my wardrobe. As usual, my wardrobe is full, yet I have nothing to wear. Rephrase, nothing that fits. The right-hand side is jam-packed with designer dresses and skirts that no longer zip up, and the few hangers on the left-hand side hold a couple of new pieces I was forced to buy. Otherwise, I'd be wearing only my birthday suit every day. I tug the gray tank off the hanger and quickly put it on. The full-length mirror is positioned next to the wardrobe, and stupid me stops to examine myself. I take a deep breath to control the anxiety that seeps its way through when I see how much weight I've gained. For some reason, I have no idea how to stop the vicious cycle I fell into of eating and sitting on the couch. My gym membership continues to be debited from my account, yet I haven't stepped foot in a gym in over a year. The motivation, willpower, and drive for success in all areas of my life has disappeared into thin air. Turning to the side, the extra skin across my belly sits comfortably on my sweatpants. Muffin top. And is it wrong that the word muffin makes me hungrier? If Drew weren't my roomie, I would probably smash this mirror to pieces with how angry I am at myself for getting to this point. But I know better than to be destructive, and I head back to the living room, ignoring my inner demons. I plonk myself back on the couch with the remote in hand. It's not long before a delicious aroma enters the living room, and I breathe in the exotic spices, making my stomach growl in anticipation. Drew is humming away some tune to a familiar song. We didn't exactly see eye to eye with music. Drew liked modern funk or whatever the crap they play in clubs, and I am all about the 80s. Madonna is, and always will be, the goddess of music. "What you cookin'?" I yell out. Do you really want to know? I probably don't. Another thing we don't see eye to eye on: food. Drew is a health nut and always trying some new diet which involves food claiming to be the next best thing for your body. We're forever arguing over the food I purchased, and Drew's the biggest nagger when it comes to what food you put in your mouth. He drives me insane. A far cry from the guy who walked into my apartment 4 years ago. Andrew Baldwin, the chubby geek I chose as a roomie over Mr. Blue Eyes. Back then, Andrew was your typical university student living on pizza and ramen noodles, struggling to get his medical degree. After moving in, he decided to go on a health kick given the demanding hours he'd soon have to commit to in the medical field. He admitted that he struggled with many things in his life, and his weight was one of them. At that time, I couldn't relate, thinking I was invincible. Being 25 with a banging body, I thought I was one of those lucky women. Ha! What a delusional idiot I turned out to be. Andrew started hitting the gym every day and eating like a rabbit, while I threw myself into a destructive relationship. Over time, he transformed his body, and I had to admit, he looked good. He was no longer that geek who walked into my apartment that day. Spending that much time in the gym toned his body, and it felt like overnight his abs came out of nowhere. For a while, I thought he had some compulsive gym disorder, but he was just motivated and didn't stop until he achieved the results he was after. The cocky bastard knew he looked good, and so began the shirtless parade through the apartment every day. Watching him transform didn't bug me the slightest bit. If anything, I was proud he made changes to better his situation. Aside from the weight loss, he cut his hair shorter and started wearing contacts. He threw out all his clothes and went on this shopping spree, purchasing trendier pieces since he was hitting the club scene every spare moment he got. Women began throwing themselves at him, and soon he referred to himself as Drew. Of course, I went along with it, being a supportive friend. He was living the life. A rocking body, a career beginning to take off, and gorgeous women begging to be in his bed. He knew how to play the doctor card when it came to luring women to his room. I'll be the first to admit, seeing him transform should have motivated me, but instead I went in the opposite direction, throwing myself into a relationship that was toxic. Jess was your typical tattooed bad boy. A chain-smoking, Harley-Davidson driving bad boy. He was every daddy's worst nightmare. My dad warned me on several occasions I could do better than him, that his little girl deserved the world, and Jess was a deadbeat living paycheck to paycheck with a drinking problem. It just took me so long to figure that out. We dated for 1.5 years, breaking up 12 times because of his jealous antics. It's easy to look back now and realize how destructive our relationship was. But in the midst of it all, I thought I was going to marry him. We vacationed at some beautiful resorts and had fun most of the time, but Jess's drinking problem spiraled out of control. It was brought to my attention by Drew one day, yet I ignored him, thinking he was pissed off because Jess spent so much time at our apartment. When Jess got drunk, Drew was his target. The thought of me living with a male drove him insane. To think I nearly moved out to live with him in his rundown shack shows how pathetic I was. I guess you could say it was a blessing I found my ex-best friend, Callie, blowing him in the back of his workshop. Reiterate, ex-best friend. I lost my sense of strong, independent Zoey and turned into the devil, cursing revenge on their lame asses. I was on the warpath to make their lives a living hell, and in the meantime, all that did was put me in a depressive funk that could only be cured by eating more. My love life dwindled after that, and not because I didn't get any offers, but because I just couldn't be bothered anymore. I'd joined the anti-men bandwagon. They were all the same. At least in my eyes, they were. Since you didn't reply, I'll take it you're not interested. Drew yells back from the kitchen. Pass, I shout back, digging into my corn chips. He emerges 10 minutes later with a plate of green crap. Settling on the couch beside me, he devours his meal, making these odd sounds. It smells good, but boy, does it look like a pile of mush. Jeez, you sound like you're having an orgasm. Kale does that to you. He moans on purpose, closing his eyes as he runs his tongue along his top lip. Honestly, where is the fun-loving Andrew who would fight for the last slice of Hawaiian pizza? Remember Pizza Wars? When we would battle for the last slice? I believe that's buried, along with that name. Come on, Zoe. You know I hate being called Andrew. I'm not going to get into that argument again. Drew struggled with talking about his past every time I got all Dr. Phil on him. It's a man thing. Something I wish I could do because I have no problem dragging up the past. A woman thing. Fumbling with the remote and skipping past all the Friday night rubbish on television, I stop at some wedding dress show until Drew warns me to keep surfing. The last time you watched this, you cried for an hour, saying you would end up a spinster collecting cats. It was that time of the month, I mumble with a mouthful of corn chips. He removes the remote from my hands and settles on some travel show. Although I let out an annoyed huff, crossing my arms like a spoiled child, I end up enjoying watching the hosts trek through Asia and explore different cultures. Another reminder my life has become stagnant. Yet that push, that drive, my mojo, has no desire to experience life outside of this apartment and my office. So, what are you doing this weekend? I ask, swiftly changing the subject before my head explodes. I'm going to the beach down the coast with a couple of guys. I think it would be good for you to join us. Why? You know I hate the sun. It's a freckle funeral in this heat. Because you need to get out. Ever since you broke up with what's-his-face, you've been down in the dumps, eating rubbish and watching reruns. You're young, Zoe. How many other single girls at 29 do you see doing the same thing? They don't because they're all engaged or married. Exactly. I don't need a man. I'm fine. When you can say that to me without pulling that ridiculous face, I'll believe you. And as for tomorrow, go find your bikini because I'll be dragging you out of bed at 6. 6? I cry out. Fuck. My bikini will cover only one boob. I haven't worn it since my ill-fated trip to Fiji with Jess. Back then, I was a B cup. These Ds have no chance of staying put. I'm not going, I say firmly. Turning to face me, he extends his hand. Rock, paper, scissors? Ugh! You're so annoying, I moan, following his move. We both clench our fists and shake 3 times. At the same time, we release our hands, both pulling out rock. We repeat the game, and when Drew pulls out rock again, I throw my scissors hand into the air in frustration. Okay, you win, I complain, sinking deeper into the couch with my arms folded. Drew pulls my wrist toward him, reading the time on my watch. Shit, I've got to start getting ready. Hot date? He winks. Man whore. Since Drew is so anal about cleaning, he couldn't leave without washing the dishes and tidying the kitchen. The dishwasher starts to run and he heads to the bathroom to take a shower, but not before accusing me of leaving corn chips all over the floor and ordering me to vacuum them up. Housework is so mundane. So I do just a quick vacuum before shoving it back into the small storage cupboard without wrapping the cord around it properly. I'll pay the price for that later when Drew finds it. Feeling lonely and bored.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?